Hi, I'm Amanda Feuk, and this is my piece Imagine. And I kind of came up with the idea of doing some. I had done an art piece last year, and I wanted to do another one this year. I'm an artist myself, and so I was kind of thinking. I was trying to come up with something, and I decided I wanted to play with the shadow sculpture. I've seen them in the past done traditionally through modeling and sculpture and all that kind of stuff. And I like the idea of the fact that with Lego, you have to use what you have. I mean, you can mod, but that's evil.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to use what you're given, and I really always enjoy that aspect of it. And so I started playing with it, and I knew I kind of wanted to do a self-portraiture, something of that sort. And so I started playing with the idea of, well, when I'm working with my Lego, I have a bunch of Legos out. I have my Legos sorted, of course, but I also have my junk bin, and it always ends up creating something else. All these random pieces create something else cool. So I started playing with it, and I sketched out a silhouette first and just started very slowly.
So that was the
working
process. You kind of said, I want to achieve this, and then kind of how to like reverse engineer how to make that.
Exactly. I literally had to sketch up. The light was up, the boards, everything was set up and ready to go, and I went, all right, now what can make this? And so I literally very, very slowly started getting things. I got like the nose was going, and so this little piece is the nose tip. This little 2x2 round dish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well that looks like a nose. Now how to attach that to the rest of the face? And what was interesting is by the time I finally got the process going, and it was going in the right direction, it actually came together fairly quickly. But then of course I had to get it here. I'm from Minnesota, so we have to travel. And I'm like, okay, well, some of this stuff is connected by one stud.
Literally.
It's not going to travel well.
It's like 2x2 studs on a base plate, and that's it.
I mean, or like there's a jumper plate that's connecting this whole piece together, or all that. So I realized, I have to figure out. So I took detailed pictures, and I took everything down, packed it up nicely, and then measured out like distance here, distance there, how far over. Everything I could think of, and brought it back and put it together. And then the challenge came. I got everything back on the table, was good. I'm like, okay, turn it on, and no. She didn't have a nose. And because of the little things like the light and so on, the angles, I had to actually move things forward one whole stud in some cases.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting that it took that long to, I was like, oh, that little bit of an angle can make that huge of a difference.
And so the trick here is that you really could almost do all of this in one solid build, but it's so cool that it's all spread out. It's like I physically mentally, I can't decide in my brain what makes up what. It just, I see things on it and then that happens.
Yeah, and well, the one thing that I like about that's nice about doing multiple is if I were to do it all right here, it'd all be this crisp and sharp.
Yeah.
And the farther away you get from the backdrop, it feathers it out more. And so it was kind of an interesting technique to play with as well. And then I really like the idea of putting color on there, and the Z-Pods obviously.
I love it. So it sort of adds this kind of ring of color around the side.
Yeah, kind of woo. And originally I wasn't going to have any minifigs on, and I had thrown these pieces on for that idea of hey, look, things are thrown on and it's my workspace. And I noticed that when they got close, they reflected the light so much, they became transparent themselves. So I'm like, oh, well, I have to add minifigs now.
Oh, in the way you can see the molding and the studs.
Yeah, yep.
That is so cool. Yeah. And I love that you pointed out the nose earlier. The lips in particular are it's a very interesting curvature.
Yeah, the lip is actually the dart, the bottom lip. So if you look right here, that is the bottom lip. The top lip is the tip of the wing. And then because the dart obviously has holes in it, the minifig's head fills in all of the bottom lip. Except for the little highlight, which I liked, so I wasn't going to mess with it.
So did you learn anything about the transparency of Lego elements in the process of doing this, other than the fact that Z-Pods have really cool shadows?
Yeah, one thing that I thought was interesting was the fact that Lego is obviously shiny most of the time, unless something's wrong or it's been very old. And so I had to deal with some of the refraction issues with that, and the fact that...
It's like back onto the light almost? Or?
Yeah, because you can see, this is a highlight. That little white tiny spot is actually being reflected from something else. And so there was certain cases I had to actually reverse, I had to reverse this dish, because when it was the other way, it was causing a bit of a highlight on something else and shining it the other way. And it took me forever. I'm like, where is this highlight coming from?
All these things on it, you have to feel like sort of, what is it?
I literally had a chopstick out for a little bit, and I was like, because what would happen is I'd put something down, and she would have a bolt sticking out of her neck. I'm like, all right, something's not right. So I literally had to go and touch each section and run my finger on each one to find where that one stud needed to go forward or built differently.
So I personally would next year like there to be like a whole island here at Brickworld just devoted to like this, and just have people do as many of these as possible. So if you're gonna give a piece of advice to like someone looking to like do one of these or like source that light, like what does someone need to know to kind of like get this going?
Definitely the highest looms light you can get. That one was from Amazon, and it was like $30. It was pretty cheap. I mean, I was very happy about that because you'll see a lot on there that are like 50, 60, 100s and whatever. And that's supposed to be like a camping light, you know. It worked, and it obviously you can see it. That was my biggest fear coming here. It's like I could see it in my basement.
Yeah.
So I'd say definitely get a good light. My biggest thing is if I would ever build another one of these again, I would make the backdrop and the light a part of the actual piece, because like I said, when I had to fix everything, it became a big issue of not having those little rotations. So I would definitely make a rig or something so this is how it set up the first time.
Super rigid, lots of techniques, something that like slam down into such sheets.
Exactly. Yeah. So it could the light would be in the exact same position as everything when I first built it. So that would definitely be my two big pieces of advice.
Very, very good advice. Thank you so much for sharing with us. A genuinely awe-inspiring build.
Oh, thank you so much. I love your guys' show too. I watch all the time. So
thank you.